It is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. On its grounds, you'd be forgiven for thinking is a music festival.
And to be fair, it's not just...
In fact, it's been declared a liberated zone, or the People's University for Palestine.
You don't want to be identified, please mask up.
Access is tightly controlled. Before we were allowed to film inside, an organising committee took a vote. They don't use their real names, and our media liaison officer was codenamed Dragonfly.
You say that you want to be open and speak to people, but we had to get permission to come in, you had to have a vote on whether you'd give interviews. What's all that about?
You have to understand that we're in an extremely hostile media landscape that is quite intent on using spaces like Cambridge and Oxford, where there's also an encampment right now, as the kind of nexus of these culture wars.
On the lawns of Cambridge's King's College, this encampment is one of a dozen or so that have gone up across the UK, inspired by the much larger occupations in America. Among their aims, they want universities to stop doing business with Israel or any companies that support its ongoing war with Hamas.
Who's paying for all of the food and who paid for all of the tents?
So we did a fundraiser beforehand and we're continuing to have loads of donations.
Maurice and Esther are from a group called Cambridge Jews for Justice in Palestine. They're not using their real names because, they say, their decision to join the encampment has led to some hostility.
How does that make you feel?
It's extremely upsetting. People who come from the outside and are hostile towards us, who claim that on some grounds we're not really Jewish.
There are some Jewish students we've spoken to who say that they feel intimidated by this. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, I think personally, I feel really safe and comfortable as a Jew, visibly a Jew. I'm wearing my kippah all day. We've got colourful tents, we've got colourful flags. It's all about, peace and love. We're making nice music.
And the atmosphere has mainly been peaceful. Some students told me they've borrowed tactics from other movements, including advice on using burner phones. A communal, vegan lunch is served. But this Jewish student told me he feels the intimidation isn't physical, but psychological.
It's scary to see Intifada until victory. There is nothing about the hostages. It's only one-sided. It's something that I feel every single minute of the day, all the time.
The students say they'll stay camped out here until all of their demands are met. They've got all the supplies they need. They've even got a toilet, although the sign says it's for emergencies only. Now, these camps have attracted a lot of attention. The Prime Minister has issued a statement saying that the right to free speech doesn't include the right to harass people. And Rishi Sunak has summoned Vice-Chancellors to Downing Street to discuss the safety of Jewish students.
How was the meeting?
University leaders were told they have to show leadership over the protests, but some expressed concerns at the suggestion they should order the tents to be cleared off the lawns.
Frankly, the last thing we want to see is any kind of escalation that takes us into the really distressing scenes that we've seen on US campuses.
The chaos and confrontation on American campuses has seen more than 2,000 people arrested. Here in Britain, the atmosphere has been rather more sedate.
Nobody would be dead in Gaza if Hamas had not been betrayed.
What an idiot.
Did that make you cross, him going?
It made me very cross.
So you support what the students are doing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Just wondering what people make of it all.
I think it's pathetic. I think they don't know what they're on about, apart from sitting in a tent and a little coloured flag.
The protesters told me they feel the attention on them has dragged them into a culture war and that the government needs to acknowledge that all sides are feeling fearful.
It's important to talk about discrimination on UK campuses in all of its forms. And so I think it's important that Rishi Sunak has called for a discussion on anti-Semitism on UK campuses. I also think it's important for a similar discussion to be called to talk about Islamophobia on UK campuses.
Cambridge University told us they won't tolerate anti-Semitism or Islamophobia, and that the encampment will remain because they're fully committed to freedom of speech within the law.